You are now listening to the Mel Gill Sports Podcast, a woman-run pod that is dedicated to bringing an alternate perspective to sports in all aspects.
Welcome back to another episode of the Mel Gill Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Mel, and today we have a special guest on the show, someone who I've really looked up to for the past few years, on-air host / sideline reporter for the Charlotte Hornets, on-air talent for Bally Sports and the Atlanta Braves, and correspondent for country music television, Ashley ShahAhmadi. Welcome, Ashley, and how are you doing?
Hey, Mel, thank you so much. I'm so excited to join you on your podcast. You're so sweet. I'm excited. I always love talking about what we do in this crazy career and sports in general. So thanks for having me.
No problem. And first off, I just wanted to thank you for taking time off of your crazy busy schedule to join me for an episode. So I really appreciate it. And I've been following you for years now. And I just want to say it's really refreshing to see someone so genuine and so passionate about what they do. And then just being a woman in the space of sport media, I always have a ton of respect and admiration for the women in this industry. And I know you've inspired many people in the sports community. So thank you for what you do and for joining me here today.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. Oh my God. And I apologize. Yes, I am in my car. I only have a couple days here at home, so I'm trying to run some errands. But I mean, that's how this career is. But no, I really appreciate your kind words. That is really, really sweet.
All right. So going right into it, you studied broadcast journalism at the University of Georgia. Did you always know that you wanted to work in the sports industry? And if so, where did that love for sports begin and grow for you?
Mel, I knew I wanted to do this at a very early age. I think my earliest memory was when I was 10 years old. I went to Atlanta Hawks games frequently, and I have two brothers. And so sports was always kind of a big part of our lives. Basketball specifically, my older brother played. And I just remember kind of following in his footsteps and playing. My first time was on a co-ed team when I was like 5 years old. So the love started really early in my life for basketball and just sports in general. But it was at that Hawks game that I just remember seeing the sideline reporter and thinking how cool of a job that would be. And so that was at a really young age. And I kind of just had that goal from then on. I remember, in high school, we had a morning show. And so during the video productions class. So I was, a part of that. I wish I would have gotten more involved. But then in college, of course, is when I really, buckled down and tried to get involved in as many ways as I could. And so I studied broadcast journalism at the University of Georgia, which is, I'm biased, but one of the top programs in the country, I have to say. And then I just tried to do any sort of involvement with sports at UGA, just covering any of the games, even just, not for a class, but just to try and get my foot in the door and get some experience. I knew pretty early on that that's what I wanted to do. And I never really strayed from it. I could always tell that I really loved it, and that's something that I really wanted to do. So I think before that, I wanted to deliver babies and be a doctor. So a 180 there.
Quite a switch.
I know. I don't know how that switch happened, but couldn't be happier, because as much as bringing life into the world would be amazing, the 12 plus years of school, not sure if that would have been for me. So.
Oh my goodness, yes. So as we know, that passion and love you had for sports took you pretty far. You had such a successful career so young. And can you take us through your career, I guess, from that point in university and how it's led you to where you are today?
Absolutely. So when I graduated, I guess before that, I did an internship just at a local news station in Augusta, Georgia. And I don't know if I could go back and kind of tell my younger self some things. This would be one of them. I interned as a news reporter. So I did the early morning shift, overnight shift. And I think in my mind, I was like, let's just get any on-camera experience we can. Let's work with cameras. Let's do editing. Let's figure out how a newsroom works. And so I don't know why I didn't try to do a sports internship or intern, shadow the sports person there. But it worked.
It worked out.
Totally fine. I just remember, I think my mindset was I don't know if I can get a sports job right out of college. So let me just experience news and see what it's like, and go from there and just get my foot in the door. But it honestly was after that internship, just a couple really tough stories that we had to cover, where I was like, you know what, news is not for me. I need to just try to find a way to get into sports, because if I'm going to do this, like, that's what I want to do. And so I'm really thankful for that internship, because it kind of let me buckle down a little bit and realize that, like, it might take me a little bit longer, but let me try and find the sports job. And so I started applying 6 months before I graduated, and I interviewed for like it was more so like I would do stats and things for ACC football and stuff like that. So it wasn't really on camera. And just for reference, that job would have paid me $40,000 out of college, which to me, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be rich. And then I interviewed at a station in Meridian, Mississippi, which is where I eventually got my first start. And that job paid me $20,000 a year out of college. And so I definitely went with the right move career-wise, though, because that was the best first job I could have ever asked for. I was able to anchor the show, the 10 o'clock newscast, 5 nights a week. I got to cover it. Meridian's kind of right inside the border of Mississippi, but it's close to Alabama as well. So football is obviously huge in the South, and so sports is in general. But I got to cover Alabama, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, so all the SWAC schools in Mississippi, the JUCO colleges, which was really fun. And so it was just such a great starting point for me, just because sports was so prevalent there and huge, and it allowed me to just really expand and kind of hone in on my craft and like being able to practice. And my sports director had been there for 20 something years. So I got to really pick his brain, and he became a mentor to me. And so I'm so grateful for my first job there, which is where I spent 2 years. And then I went to Jackson, Mississippi for 2 more years, which was just a bigger market and a little bit more exposure. And then after that, I got the job at Fox Sports South, which is now Bally Sports. And that's kind of how I got in with that role. So it was wonderful starting in local news. Do I ever want to go back? Probably not, but it was a great start. And I always tell people, you know, working in a newsroom teaches you so much more than just the job. So I'm really grateful for that.
Mm-hmm. It's a great first experience too, just to kind of familiarize yourself with everything. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So like we mentioned, working in sports, it's of course a lot of fun, but also you have a pretty busy and hectic schedule. So what does a day in your life look like during the NBA season?
During the NBA season, it's pretty much go. Mm-hmm. You know, if we're not, because I travel with the team full time. So if we're not, you know, at a home game, or if it's a home stand where we have 3 to 5 games at home, then it's a little bit more relaxed. I can actually go grocery shopping and have like actual groceries in my fridge, which is kind of nice. But most of the time it's like, you know, 1 or 2 games at home, get on the road, 1 or 2 games at home, vice versa. Sometimes then we'll have that long West Coast trip where we knock out all the LA teams and California teams, and you know, Portland, Phoenix, all that. And so we're gone for like 2 weeks for that. But I guess for home games, you know, we have shoot around in the mornings that I go to. And that's where I try and get a lot of my stories and talk to the players and coaches and just kind of see what's going on, and news and injuries and whatever it may be. And then the night before that, though, I'll usually spend a couple hours just prepping for the game, for the pregame show, and any stories that I may already have had or kind of looked into. And so then the morning of, I go to shoot around, I come back, I do a little bit more prep work. And then honestly, I get ready, and our production meeting is in the afternoon. We have to be at the arena 3 to 4 hours before the game starts. So I get ready, go to the arena, we have our meeting, and then, you know, I have about probably 45 minutes after the meeting and then the coach press conferences. Then I just kind of wrap everything up, and our pregame show starts 30 minutes before the game. And so I host that, and then the game starts and I turn on sideline reporter mode, do that. And then there's a lot of running up and down the stairs. If you've ever been to the Charlotte Arena, our set is upstairs in the concourse, and then the court's downstairs. So I'm constantly just running up and down which is really fun and it's a great workout. So that's kind of how that goes. And then I do the post game show, and sometimes if it's a back to back, we have to leave right after the game, so our bags have to be packed and we go straight to the airport, or the next day we'll get on the flight and go to the next place. So it's just pretty like go, go, go. I've tried to become a really good packer. I feel like I'm not there yet, but I'm really trying to be.
Very nonstop schedule. How do you even pack for that? How do you prepare?
Oh my gosh, Mel. Like how to pack. I wish I could have someone show me like the proper way to pack, because I've tried packing cubes and now I think I'm not going to do that anymore. I feel like it just makes it worse for me because I end up just shoving everything in the packing cubes, and then my bag is so dang heavy. So I don't know. I try really hard to just pack like one outfit for each day. But then it's like, as a girl, sometimes we have, what if my zipper breaks, or what if like something happens to my shirt or whatever. So then I have one more extra just in case, because that would be the worst. But guys have it so much easier. They just put a couple ties in a bag and call it a day. Literally wear the same suit.
With alternate ties.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And like shoes too. I mean, they could pack one pair of shoes and be done. And I'm like, okay.
And nobody notices.
It's unbelievable. I'm always like, they always like to go to like lunch or something of the day of the game, or sometimes Dell Curry, our analyst, will go golfing in the morning. And I'm like, you are so dang lucky. I wish I had that, but hair takes a long time, makeup. So just being a woman in sports.
Yeah. So you just finished up with Summer League, wrapping up a few days ago. How long have you been doing that, first of all? And how is that whole experience for you, covering it and just getting to see the new young talent of the league in action?
Absolutely. This was my second year doing it, and I absolutely love it. I like to tell people it's kind of like YMCA, rec league, AAU ball, but on crack. Like you'll have on the sideline, all these people packed in this like just like AAU or YMCA gym. And so it's a really, really cool experience. I have loved doing it the last 2 years. And just from a personal, professional standpoint, honestly, it helps me in my career so much, because I am such a planner and a prep person. I spend hours prepping, and I really like to have things like kind of prepared. But for Summer League, you can't at all. You'll prepare or plan for, who you think is going to play that day, and then they might not. And it's like a lot of, obviously the draft picks, you can kind of gauge what, their story is, but then you just have these random people that like, you have no idea where they came from, and they're playing. Some might go off in a game, so you want to have some sort of story on them, but it's like, it's just so last minute, and it's very stressful for me as a planner. But like I said, professionally, it's so good because it makes me think on my toes, and like, it's for once, I can't plan things. Like I have to just go with the flow.
It's a challenge.
It is such a challenge. Like all of a sudden you'll be like, oh, the head coach for Arkansas is here. Let's go interview him. And, your producer will be in your ear. And so I'm like quickly Googling which players he's here for. Like, why is he here? Who's he watching? So that I have things to, obviously ask him about. And so that's usually how it happens. They'll just all of a sudden be like random people on the sideline, and your producer's like, can you go get an interview with him? And so then you just have to try. And so it's great. It's such a good challenge, but that's definitely the stressful part of it. But man, it's so much fun for sure.
You've done so many things, right? And you've working with the Hornets for almost 4 years now. You've worked many different events. What has been your favorite memory during your time with the team?
I love this team so much. And, I know we have some turnover this year. We have a new oldish coach. He's coming back. But, I think some of the best memories, for one, would be All-Star. Covering that was really, really fun in Chicago. I really enjoyed that. And then just from like a team standpoint, there's some game winners that really stick out in my mind. Just like, certain times, like I remember in Toronto hitting a game winner from half court. It was Jeremy Lamb. It's like one of my best memories that I've ever had.
We still remember that to this day. We remember.
About to say, sorry for bringing this up.
Okay.
But it was incredible. Like I've seen some game winners, but that one, I've never seen an arena silenced so fast before. It was like awesome. And, you know I just mentioned the Chicago All-Star, but the biggest one was in Charlotte when Kemba Walker was here. That was such a good memory just because, he's such a great guy, and just to be able to be celebrated and to be an All-Star, and All-Star weekend's just fun in itself. But those were just definitely some good things. And then, yeah, the game winners, specifically that one in Toronto, that was so good. Sorry about that.
It's okay. Just brought up some PTSD. It's okay. So what is the absolute best part about working for the Hornets? I know you just mentioned some things you like, but what's the best part about working for the team?
I think the people 100%. And it's not just like the fans. I love connecting with the fans, and I love being able to, my job as a sideline reporter, in my eyes, is to connect the fans with the players. And so if I can kind of bridge that gap and make them realize like these are just people too, I really enjoy doing that. And sometimes I'll ask these outlandish questions like, what'd you have for breakfast? What you blah, blah, blah. And the players are always like, Ash, like, why are you asking me this? And I'm like, look, you guys are gods to these people. Like, fans, see you guys as just like superheroes. And so they want to know every little thing about you. So that's really fun to be able to kind of bridge that gap. And then I love who I work with, Dell Curry and Eric Collins. They are by far just the best teammates I could ever ask for. From day one, they've really just kind of brought me in, and I think we have such good chemistry, all of us. And I mean, if you've heard any of Eric Collins' calls before, like, he is just the Energizer Bunny. It's amazing. He's the inside of a Snapple cover. He knows literally everything about everything that you didn't think you needed to know. And then, Dell he's a Curry, he's Steph Curry's dad, but it's like, he's such a humble person, and he's just has such a good heart. And I respect the hell out of him. I just think he's such a great guy. And so working with them is just one of my absolute favorite parts of the job. So overall, just the people, 100%.
Yeah, you answered my next question like perfectly. I was just going to ask what it's like working with those two, because you guys have such great chemistry and you get along, and you throw in some laughs here and there, and it's really enjoyable from the fan perspective.
And it makes all the difference. Like, we genuinely have a good time. Like, we go out to dinner together. We're with each other more than our family sometimes. Like, we are on the road with each other all the time. And so the amount of Thanksgivings we've spent together, like Christmas Eve, I mean, just holidays in general, you have to become like a family because you miss so much back at home. And so to be able to say how much I like genuinely love spending time with them is I think rare. I've only worked for one NBA team, but I have a lot of friends in the business, and I feel really, really lucky to be able to say that, they're like family to me. So, I think they're great at their jobs, and I could go on and on about everything that they do right, and everything I've learned from them. They're like mentors to me, but it's just overall, being able to really enjoy the people that you work with. And I can wholeheartedly say that. Have a good time. I mean, there's 82 games. You're on the road from October to April. So you got to have some laughs in there. And Eric Collins is the one who told me, he's like, look, you just keep on smiling and people are going to love it. Like, you can make mistakes. You can, whatever it may be. You just got to keep on smiling. So he's someone who told me that.
So you've obviously engaged and interviewed with a ton of different players throughout your time with the Hornets. Who's been your absolute favorite to interview?
Oh, you can't ask me that now. What if they
Sorry?
I said, what if they listen to this? You can't ask
me. They won't.
Okay, can I touch on a couple of people?
Yes,
because
of course.
I truly saying this, like, the team has treated me with so much respect, and like the players, I feel really lucky to work with them too, because I feel like, being here for the last couple of years, I've really built relationships with them. And that's something, big advice that I usually give people is don't just do your job, but also be a human, be a friend. Like, I genuinely ask them about their lives, like their families, and just really try to build a relationship. I would never just go into an interview and be like, okay, so tell me about this, like, tell me about this play or whatever it may be. I really, really try to build up those relationships, because then they trust you, and then it just makes everything 100 times easier. Some people that stick out, he's retired, so I can say this one. Marvin Williams is hands down one of the nicest people I've ever met. Same with Kemba. Kemba, he's not retired, but Kemba Walker, when he was here my first year, and, really just kind of helped me ease the transition, just because I was interviewing him so much. So that was really great. For this team now, LaMelo is obviously a huge name for the Hornets. And he, I think when you meet him, surprises a lot of people just because the kid loves basketball. I mean, you might not know who we're playing the next 3 nights, but he will show up. He will play his heart out. And I respect it for him because he's been in the limelight his whole life. And so, getting to know him has been really great. And I could go down the list. There's so many guys that I just really respect. And I feel like they love the sport and, they want to win. And like I said, I've only worked for one team, but I feel like it's rare when you have a team that has such great chemistry and actually genuinely likes to play with each other and be teammates and all that. So that's not to say the names I didn't say. I don't like to because I love them all, but just I'm going to say he always keeps us on our toes. You never know what he's going to say. As you can probably tell from some of the interviews, I'm always just like, okay, what's he about to tell me now?
He's just a kid playing basketball. That's it.
That's it. That's all it is.
So speaking of LaMelo, who he just came off a tremendous sophomore season for the Hornets, improving in nearly every category and being named an all-star so young in his career. What does it mean for Charlotte to have a player as special as him? And how does he impact the success of his team on and off the court?
When LaMelo was drafted, I just feel like the immediate media attention to our city, to our team, to the fan base, it blew up. And, I think a lot of people realize that, but then I'm also like, do people really realize like what this kid has done for the city of Charlotte? He is just, I'm not going to say like put it on the map because obviously Charlotte has had success before and they've had really big names and stuff like that, but people are obsessed with the Ball family. Like it is, Mel, it is unlike anything I've ever seen. Just like the fans from all over the world that all of a sudden will show up at these games and you're just like, wow, like you traveled, you spent all this money to come here to see him play. And it's like, I ask him that sometimes. I'm like, do you realize what your fan base is like? And sometimes I don't even think he really does, but it's truly incredible what he's done for this city already. And it's only been 2 years. So I can't even imagine, years to come, and just what he's going to be able to do and hopefully bring championships and all that hopefully is to follow too. But man, he's really just transformed everything for, I think, this city in such a good way.
Like you mentioned, like his impact is all around the globe. Here in Toronto, I swear I will see a LaMelo jersey like maybe 3 times a week. It's crazy.
Yeah. Now, I'm not sure if you saw, but he's now going from number 2 to number 1.
Yeah.
So number 2 LaMelo jerseys are vintage. So people need to and remember the time when he was a number 2.
Yes. So he's certainly very crucial to the success of the Hornets. And I can imagine fans were kind of hoping to see some upgrades to the roster this offseason to elevate them to a playoff team. And, with the whole off-court situation involving Miles Bridges and I guess some may say the lack of action this free agency for the Hornets. What do you see what do you see for the future of this team and going into the next season? What are your predictions?
I'm not going to lie to you. It's been like a really tough summer just with an off season, with everything that's happened. It's hard to predict just because things are still very up in the air and like it's a legal thing now. So it's obviously out of our hands. It's really sad. It's really, really sad. And, I just pray for peace for that whole situation. But in terms of the Hornets, I love our draft picks. I was able to see them in summer league and do one of the games, which was really fun. I really like Mark Williams. He seems like a really good guy. And, we need that kind of center presence, but I don't know. It's kind of a tough question, Mel, just because I'm not sure what's going to happen. And I was able to meet Steve Clifford at Summer League for the first time too. And so I love his principles. He's such a defensive minded guy. And that is something that we not lacked, but needed to work on. So I'm hoping that'll spark some change as well. I mean, if anything, I know that this team is always fun to watch and they're always going to be entertaining. I hope it can translate to wins too. And I'm kind of just as curious as everyone else as how this season's going to go, because there is, I came into the Hornets the first year without Steve Clifford. So I was James Borrego's first year. So I haven't worked with Coach Clifford yet. And so I'm kind of just as curious as everyone else how it's going to go. I'm hoping that it's successful and we're still seeing names, kind of trades and all that stuff happening now. So we'll see what happens. But I know it's going to be entertaining as it usually is. So
for sure. It will always be entertaining.
Yeah.
So you've worked with many women during your career, and in recent years, we're seeing more women being given the opportunity to work in the league. How important do you believe female representation in sports is?
It's tremendously important, and we are seeing such a spike of it. I feel like women in sports, it's becoming, it's much more dominating now, and I love to see it because, I am one, and I just think that, they deserve that chance too, to be able to make an impact in more of a male dominated field. I feel like eventually we're not going to have to say that. Like eventually we're not going to say a male dominated field, and that's going to feel really, really good. So I'm looking forward to that. But I just think it's important because I think we bring like a different perspective to things. And I think, sometimes we can have like different relationships with people and are able to bring like just a different light to interviews and to hosting. And, I just think it's important to have just an array of different people on your broadcast and whatever it may be. So I love being a woman in sports. It's still to this day things that I have to always bring my A game for, just because I am. And I don't know if that will ever change, which is totally fine. And that's what I tell people. I'm like, just, know your stuff. And if you don't know it, sometimes I'll get a question like, how do you know about all the history of the Hornets or whatever team it may be? And I'm like, I don't know everything about it. But that is totally okay. You just have to do your research. And I always say, if I don't know it, I'm going to look it up. And so being prepared for anything. And it's okay not to know everything. Like that's not a bad thing. You just have to be prepared and do your research and bring your A game to the table, just because, there will be times I feel like I don't have to work with it so much with the people that I work with, but I have had before in, not with the Hornets, but different jobs where I feel like your knowledge is challenged and it comes to the table like that you are a woman in sports, which hopefully one day like that won't even be a question about it. But I guess my biggest thing is just to always be, on your A game and prepared for it, because you're going to work with people that are still going to say something about it. And you just got to be ready for it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with everything you said. I feel like we bring something different that maybe men don't. I mean, whether it's like the hunger or the energy, and it's really refreshing to see people like you doing what you do.
Oh, thank you.
No problem. So I mentioned to you previously that I'm currently studying sport media at Toronto Metropolitan University in Canada, and my dream is to be kind of like what you do for the Raptors. So what advice would you give either to myself or to any other young women aspiring to work in this industry?
Well, first off, congratulations just first and doing what you're doing and already starting a podcast. You clearly have a passion for it and you're working hard, and that shows. I mean, that's one of the biggest things and advice that I give people is just hard work. It's so simple, but it really is an important part of kind of getting into this field. But I think, a big thing, which you're also kind of doing too, is just to talk to people in the industry. And you don't even have to, do it on an interview basis, but just like a one-on-one conversation on the phone, just to, know the ins and outs of the job that you want to do. I mean, if I know COVID kind of messed things up, like to shadow people or intern, but if you're able to, I just think that is so important, because there's a lot people see from the outside that they think the job is about, and that might be part of it, but there's so much more that they probably don't see or don't know about. And so just to, make sure that this is everything that you want to sign up for, because it's a lot of sacrifice too. And I feel like people don't really realize that. So they're going to spend all this time and hard work trying to get to a certain place. And then when they get there, they're like, well, this isn't exactly what I thought it'd be. So I would definitely say for some advice to just reach out to as many people in the industry that do what you want to do, talk to them, ask all the questions. They are more than willing, I'm sure, to share their advice on the matter. And then you have to be able to just say yes to basically everything. There are jobs that, you're not going to love, or if it's your first job, maybe it's not your dream job, but it's your first job. If it's your second, third, fourth, fifth, like it still might not be your dream job, but it's all going to lead you to that. So I truly believe that. And I think that, people just have to be willing to sacrifice things to get in this field, because it is so competitive. There's only 30 NBA teams. So and there's countless people that want this job. And so it's like being able to do whatever it takes to get there. And another big thing I would say is keep it really professional from the start, because if this is something that you want to do, then people are going to be watching you from the beginning, and just always make sure that you keep it professional. Because I cannot tell you enough how many times that I've seen it go a different way, and it ruins careers. And so just always keep it professional and do it for the right reasons. So I think you'll go really far though, but I'm super proud of what you're already doing. I think it's amazing. Keep it up for sure.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Just wanted to thank you again for taking the time to spend here with me today on the show, and being able to answer my questions and just giving this amazing advice. And really appreciate what you do for the industry, for women. And yeah, thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And hopefully we didn't get to travel to Toronto last year, but hopefully we do this year, and hopefully I'll see you there.
Yes, for sure. Definitely hope I get to meet you someday. But yeah, thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Mel Gill Sports Podcast. Don't forget to follow on all social media at Mel Gill Sports Pod.